My beloved child, hold on for a moment, because what is happening around you right now is not as ordinary as it seems. There is a feeling you have been carrying lately, isn't there? A strange pull. A quiet sensation that something important is approaching, even if you cannot explain it. You wake up with thoughts that seem to arrive from nowhere. Certain names appear in your mind unexpectedly. Old memories return without invitation. And sometimes, in the middle of a normal day, your heart pauses for a second as if it is listening for a voice that has not spoken yet. What if that feeling is not random? What if the connection you have been waiting for is already moving toward you? Stay here a little longer, because this message may reveal something you have sensed deep inside but never found the words to describe. There are moments in life when the future announces itself before it arrives. Not through loud events. Not through dramatic signs. But through subtle shifts in awareness. Through tiny changes in energy. Through coincidences that seem too perfectly timed to ignore. And right now, you are standing inside one of those moments. Somewhere beyond your current view, a conversation is preparing itself. A connection is aligning. A message is finding its path through time, distance, and circumstance. You may not know the exact day. You may not know the exact form. But something is moving. The remarkable part is this. Your soul recognized it before your mind did. That is why certain songs suddenly feel different. That is why some nights seem unusually emotional. That is why your attention keeps drifting toward possibilities you once dismissed. Your inner world has already detected a change in the atmosphere. Pause and ask yourself this question. Why have you been thinking more deeply about connection lately? Why has your heart become more sensitive to certain memories? Why do some encounters feel strangely meaningful, even when they appear ordinary? The answer may be closer than you imagine. Because the person connected to your future is also changing. While you have been growing through challenges, learning through uncertainty, and becoming stronger through experiences nobody else fully understands, another soul has been traveling their own path. Different journey. Different lessons. Different timeline. Yet somehow, the road ahead is beginning to bend in the same direction. And that is where things become fascinating. Many people think meaningful connections happen instantly. But the truth is often far more beautiful. Before two paths cross, both individuals are quietly transformed by life itself. Every setback. Every lesson. Every unexpected turn. Every moment that felt like a delay. It was preparing something greater than you could see at the time. Imagine standing before a massive doorway while only seeing the wall in front of you. You assume there is nowhere to go. Then suddenly, the door begins to open. Not because it appeared out of nowhere. Because it was always there. You simply reached the moment when you were ready to notice it. Could that be what is happening now? Could the answers you've been searching for already be closer than they seem? Listen carefully. The future rarely arrives with warning labels. Instead, it whispers. It nudges. It creates opportunities disguised as ordinary moments. A message. A conversation. An introduction. A chance encounter. A sudden realization. And then everything starts making sense. Not all at once. But piece by piece. Like stars forming a constellation that was invisible just moments before. Now here is something even more intriguing. The connection approaching your life may not arrive in the way you expect. The mind loves predictions. The heart recognizes truth. And sometimes the two travel different roads. The person you imagine may not be the exact person destiny introduces. The timing you planned may not be the timing that unfolds. Yet when the moment arrives, something inside you will understand. Not because logic explains it. Because clarity feels unmistakable. You will sense a familiarity that goes beyond words. A comfort that cannot be manufactured. A conversation that feels less like an introduction and more like a continuation. As if two stories that were written separately have finally reached the same chapter. But wait. Before you decide this is merely wishful thinking, there is one detail you need to hear. The strongest signs are not appearing outside of you first. They are appearing within you. Your increasing awareness. Your growing patience. Your expanding understanding of what truly matters. These are not accidents. These are indicators. Evidence that your perspective is evolving. And when your perspective changes, your reality begins to respond. That is why this season of your life feels different. You are no longer chasing every distraction. You are no longer searching for validation in every direction. A deeper part of you has started looking for something real. Something meaningful. Something lasting. And that shift changes everything. Because the moment you become aligned with authenticity, authentic connections become easier to recognize. So if you've been feeling that mysterious pull lately, if you've sensed that life is quietly rearranging pieces behind the scenes, if your intuition keeps telling you that something important is approaching, do not ignore it. You may be standing far closer to a turning point than you realize. And what comes next may explain why every previous chapter happened exactly the way it did. Because the message that is approaching is not only about another person. It is also about the version of you that is finally ready to receive it. And in the next part, something even more surprising will be revealed. The signs are already appearing. Most people miss them. But you are about to see them in a completely different way. Wait, before you rush ahead, consider this possibility. What if the message you've been expecting is already closer than a text, a call, or a conversation? What if it has been traveling toward you through experiences instead of words? Most people spend their lives looking for obvious signals. They expect life to announce important changes with certainty. Yet the most powerful turning points often arrive quietly. They appear disguised as ordinary moments. A random thought. A sudden feeling. An unexpected encounter that seems insignificant at first. And then months later, you look back and realize. That was the beginning. That was the exact moment everything started shifting. You may be standing inside such a moment right now. Think about the last few weeks. Have you noticed how certain situations keep repeating themselves? How specific lessons keep returning? How life seems determined to draw your attention toward something you once overlooked? Nothing meaningful repeats without purpose. The universe of possibilities is vast, yet some experiences continue knocking at your door until you understand what they came to teach. And perhaps one of those lessons has been preparing you for a connection unlike any you've experienced before. Not because it will complete you. You were never incomplete. But because it will reflect parts of yourself you have only recently begun to discover. Take a deep look at your own growth. You are not the same person you were a year ago. The fears that once controlled you have lost some of their power. The doubts that once seemed permanent no longer sound as convincing. The dreams you buried are beginning to rise back to the surface. That transformation matters more than you know. Because meaningful connections do not simply appear when we want them. They often arrive when we can finally recognize their value. And recognition requires growth. Now here is something fascinating. Somewhere, another person may be experiencing similar changes. They may be questioning old beliefs, releasing old disappointments, finding courage where fear once lived, learning lessons they never expected to learn. Without realizing it, their path may be gradually aligning with yours. Not through force, not through coincidence alone, but through the natural unfolding of two journeys becoming ready at the same time. Strange thought, isn't it? Two people living separate stories, facing different challenges, making different choices, yet moving toward the same future chapter. This is why patience often becomes the hidden bridge between where you are and where you are meant to be. Because some things cannot be rushed. A flower blooms when it is ready. A sunrise arrives at its appointed hour. And certain connections reveal themselves only when both hearts have gathered enough wisdom to appreciate them. Stay with me, because the next insight changes everything. Many people assume their soulmate is searching for them. But what if the deeper truth is that both souls are learning how to find themselves first? Read that again within your heart. Not searching for each other. Learning themselves. That changes the entire perspective. Because the greatest preparation for a meaningful connection is becoming more aligned with who you truly are. Every challenge becomes training. Every setback becomes information. Every disappointment becomes redirection. Nothing is wasted. Even the moments that felt confusing. Especially those moments. What if the delays you resented were actually protection? What if the doors that closed were creating space for better ones to open? What if the waiting period was never punishment, but preparation? Suddenly the story looks different, doesn't it? And that is exactly why this message matters. Because you may have spent too much time measuring progress by visible results. Yet some of the most important developments happen beneath the surface. Roots grow before branches. Foundations strengthen before towers rise. Understanding develops before transformation becomes visible. And right now, unseen progress may be unfolding faster than you realize. Before we continue, if these words resonate with something deep inside you, leave a comment with the phrase, "I am ready for what is meant for me." Not because anyone else needs to see it, but because sometimes declaring your readiness helps you recognize opportunities when they arrive. And if these messages inspire your journey, you can subscribe and stay connected for future insights like this. Now let's go deeper. Imagine receiving a message tomorrow. Not just any message. A message that unexpectedly shifts your perspective. Would you be ready for it? Would you recognize its significance? Or would you dismiss it because it arrived in a form you did not anticipate? This question matters. Because life rarely delivers opportunities wrapped exactly the way we imagine. Sometimes the greatest gift arrives disguised as a simple conversation. Sometimes a brief interaction creates a lasting impact. Sometimes a person enters your life carrying answers to questions you have not even asked yet. That is why awareness is becoming your greatest strength. Awareness notices what distraction misses. Awareness sees possibilities where others see coincidence. Awareness recognizes the beginning of a new chapter before the title becomes obvious. And your awareness is increasing. That is not an accident. It is preparation. The feeling you've been carrying lately. That quiet anticipation. That sense that something important is approaching. It may be your intuition recognizing movement before your eyes can see it. And there is one sign in particular that most people overlook. A sign so subtle that it often goes unnoticed until much later. In the next part, you'll discover what that sign is. And why it could reveal that the message you've been waiting for is already much closer than you think. Hold on, because what you're about to hear may completely change the way you interpret the signs around you. Most people are waiting for something dramatic. A grand signal. A perfect moment. An unmistakable announcement. Yet the sign that often appears before a life-changing connection is surprisingly simple. It is clarity. Not certainty. Clarity. There is a difference. Certainty demands all the answers. Clarity gives you the courage to take the next step without needing them. And lately, whether you've noticed it or not, something inside you has been becoming clearer. The noise that once distracted you doesn't hold the same power. The opinions that once influenced every decision are beginning to fade into the background. The pressure to force outcomes is slowly losing its grip. You are becoming more selective with your energy. More intentional with your attention. More aware of what truly belongs in your future. That is not a coincidence. That is evolution. And evolution creates space. Space for new opportunities. Space for deeper understanding. Space for the people who are meant to walk beside you rather than merely pass through your life. Now think about this. Have you ever cleaned a room and suddenly realized how much space was hidden beneath the clutter? The room did not grow larger. You simply removed what no longer belonged. Life works the same way. And perhaps this season has been helping you clear emotional clutter you didn't even realize you were carrying. Old expectations. Old disappointments. Old stories about who you thought you had to be. One by one, they have been falling away. Not because you failed. Because you outgrew them. And when you outgrow old versions of yourself, something extraordinary happens. You become visible to possibilities that could not find you before. Let that sink in. The future isn't only moving toward you. You are moving toward it. Every lesson learned. Every perspective gained. Every challenge overcome. You have been quietly meeting your future halfway. That is why this message feels different. Because it isn't merely about another person entering your story. It is about the version of you who will meet them. A stronger version. A wiser version. A more authentic version. And authenticity has a magnetic quality. It attracts experiences that align with who you truly are. Now here's a question few people ask themselves. What if the soulmate connection you've imagined is not arriving to change your life, but to reveal how much your life has already changed? What if the connection itself is a mirror? A reflection showing you the growth you could not fully see on your own? Because sometimes we don't recognize our own transformation until someone enters our lives and reflects it back to us. They notice strengths we've overlooked. They see possibilities we've forgotten. They remind us of dreams we've placed on hold. And suddenly, the future feels larger than it did before. Not because they created that future. Because they helped us see it. Stay here a little longer, because this next insight is important. There are moments when life begins arranging events with remarkable precision. A delay leads to a meeting. A detour leads to an opportunity. A decision made months ago unexpectedly creates a connection today. Looking forward, everything appears random. Looking backward, everything appears connected. That is why patience is so powerful. Patience allows the invisible pieces enough time to find their place. Imagine watching a filmmaker create a masterpiece. If you only saw a few seconds of footage, nothing would make sense. The scenes would appear disconnected, confusing, incomplete. Yet when the entire story unfolds, every scene reveals its purpose. Your life is no different. You are living inside a story that is still being assembled. Some chapters are complete. Others are still being written. And somewhere ahead, a conversation is waiting for its moment to enter the script. A conversation that may feel surprisingly familiar. A conversation that may answer questions you've carried quietly for years. A conversation that may remind you why none of your previous experiences were wasted. Because every chapter taught you something. Every challenge refined something. Every ending prepared space for a beginning. Now listen carefully. The strongest connections rarely arrive to rescue people. They arrive to amplify them. To encourage growth. To inspire courage. To reveal possibilities. To help two individuals become even more aligned with their highest potential. That is why your preparation matters. That is why your mindset matters. That is why your awareness matters. The message approaching your life is not merely about romance, companionship, or connection. It is about expansion. A broader vision. A deeper understanding. A new perspective on what is possible. And there is one final realization that very few people ever discover. A realization so powerful that once you understand it, you'll never look at timing the same way again. Before we reach that final chapter, if these words have spoken to your heart, consider sharing this message with someone who may need this reminder today. And if you've been enjoying this journey, subscribing is a simple way to continue exploring these insights together. Because in the final part, you'll uncover why the message you've been waiting for may already be unfolding. And why the exact timing of its arrival could be far more meaningful than you ever imagined. My beloved child, before this journey comes to its final revelation, there is one last truth you must hear. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Right now. Because the message you've been waiting for is not simply approaching from the future. In many ways, it has already begun. Yes. Pause for a moment and let that settle in. Most people imagine important moments as single events. A text arrives. A call happens. A person appears. A conversation begins. And suddenly everything changes. But real transformation rarely works that way. The visible moment is only the surface. The deeper change begins long before anyone notices it. Like dawn. People point to the sunrise when the light becomes visible. But the world was already changing while the horizon still looked dark. The process had already started. And perhaps that is exactly where you are now. Perhaps the connection you've been sensing is not a future possibility anymore. Perhaps it is a present reality still revealing itself piece by piece. Think about how many things had to happen to bring you to this exact moment. Every choice. Every lesson. Every unexpected turn. Every person who entered your life. Every person who left. Every success. Every setback. Every chapter contributed something. Nothing was separate. Nothing was random. Each experience carried a fragment of preparation. And together, those fragments created the person you are today. Now ask yourself this: if all those moments were necessary to shape you, could it be possible that the timing you've questioned was actually serving you all along? What if the delay was not denial? What if the waiting was not absence? What if life was arranging pieces with a precision your current perspective could not yet see? Because timing is a fascinating thing. People often believe they are waiting for the right person. But sometimes the right person is also waiting for the right version of them. And both transformations require time. Not wasted time. Meaningful time. Growth time. Discovery time. The kind of time that turns experience into wisdom. The kind of time that turns uncertainty into understanding. The kind of time that prepares two separate journeys for a meaningful intersection. That is why you should never measure your progress only by what you can currently see. The seed beneath the soil appears invisible. Yet its growth is real. The foundation beneath a building remains hidden. Yet its strength determines everything above it. The preparation phase often receives no applause. Yet it makes every future achievement possible. And your preparation has mattered more than you realize. Every challenge strengthened something. Every disappointment clarified something. Every lesson revealed something. You are not standing where you were. You have changed. You have evolved. You have become more capable of recognizing what truly belongs in your future. And that awareness may be the greatest sign of all. Because when awareness expands, opportunities become easier to see. When awareness expands, meaningful people become easier to recognize. When awareness expands, life begins speaking in a language you can finally understand. Now here comes the realization that changes everything. The message you've been waiting for may not be important because of who sends it. It may be important because of who you become when it arrives. Think about that. The value of a moment is not only found in the event itself. It is found in the transformation it inspires. The courage it awakens. The possibilities it reveals. The direction it creates. And perhaps that is why your intuition has been whispering to you lately. Not to make you impatient. Not to make you anxious. But to help you stay open. Open to opportunities. Open to meaningful conversations. Open to unexpected beginnings. Open to the possibility that life still holds beautiful surprises. Because it does. Far more than you know. There are chapters ahead that your current imagination cannot fully picture. There are connections ahead that your present understanding cannot completely explain. There are moments ahead that will make you look back and smile at everything you once worried about. One day, you may remember this exact message. Not because it predicted the future, but because it reminded you to trust the process unfolding around you. To trust your growth. To trust your journey. To trust the quiet intelligence guiding every lesson toward its purpose. And when the conversation finally arrives, when the connection reveals itself, When the message reaches your life in whatever form it chooses, you may discover something unexpected. You were never truly waiting for it. You were becoming ready for it. That is the difference. And that difference changes everything. So walk forward with confidence. Walk forward with curiosity. Walk forward knowing that every meaningful chapter begins before anyone realizes it has started. Your story is still unfolding. Your future is still opening. And some of the most beautiful pages have not yet been written. Until then, remain aware. Remain hopeful. Remain open. Because the next message that changes your life may arrive when you least expect it. And yet, in a deeper sense, it will arrive exactly on time. My beloved child, one final moment, don't leave just yet. Because there is something extraordinary about endings. They often disguise themselves as beginnings. And perhaps that is the secret hidden within everything you've heard today. You thought this message was about someone else. A future conversation. A soulmate. An unexpected connection. And yes, it is. But it is also about you. The version of you that has been quietly emerging through every challenge, every lesson, every unanswered question. Look back for a moment. Not to dwell on the past. To witness your transformation. There were days when uncertainty felt overwhelming. Moments when you questioned the direction of your path. Times when silence seemed louder than answers. Yet here you are. Still moving. Still growing. Still believing that something meaningful lies ahead. That strength is not ordinary. That resilience is not accidental. It was built. Moment by moment. Choice by choice. Step by step. And now you stand at the edge of a new chapter. Not because someone is coming to complete your story. Because your story has finally become strong enough to welcome a new character into it. There is a powerful difference. The future does not reward desperation. It responds to alignment. And alignment is exactly what has been developing within you. The more you understand yourself, the clearer your path becomes. The clearer your path becomes, the easier it is to recognize the people meant to walk it with you. And that brings us to the final realization. The message you've been waiting for is not valuable because it changes who you are. It is valuable because it confirms who you have become. One day, perhaps sooner than you expect, a conversation will happen. A name will appear. A connection will form. A door will open. A moment will arrive. And in that instant, you may feel something familiar. Not surprise. Recognition. As though a distant echo has finally become a voice. As though a question you carried for years has quietly found its answer. As though two timelines have finally reached the same destination. But when that moment comes, remember this, do not focus only on the person. Notice the timing. Notice the lessons that prepared you. Notice the growth that brought you there. Notice the countless experiences that once seemed unrelated but now make perfect sense. Because the true miracle is rarely the event itself. The true miracle is seeing how everything connected. And when you see that connection, gratitude replaces doubt. Confidence replaces fear. Trust replaces uncertainty. Suddenly, the path behind you becomes as meaningful as the path ahead. That is when you understand. Nothing was wasted. Not the waiting. Not the setbacks. Not the detours. not the quiet seasons. Every chapter carried a purpose. Every challenge carried a lesson. Every delay carried hidden wisdom. And every step was guiding you toward this realization: life was never working against you. It was preparing you. So from this moment forward, walk differently. Walk knowing that meaningful opportunities are already searching for open hearts. Walk knowing that your future is not something to fear. Walk knowing that your story is still expanding beyond what you can currently imagine. And if this message resonated with you, share it with someone who may need this reminder today. Leave a comment below with the words, "I trust the timing of my journey." And if you'd like to continue receiving messages like this, subscribe and become part of this growing community of seekers, dreamers, and visionaries. Now take one last deep breath. Look toward the horizon of your future. There are conversations waiting to happen. Connections waiting to form. Dreams waiting to awaken. And chapters waiting to be written. The message is coming. The timing is aligning. The path is unfolding. And the most beautiful part of your story may still be ahead. Until we meet again, keep your heart open, your vision clear, and your faith in the journey alive. Because what is meant for you is already finding its way. And when it arrives, you will understand why it could never have happened any other way.